Hi, I'm City Manager Ed Zuercher. For today's On the Job, we're going to address a serious subject, domestic violence. 1 in 10 men, 1 in 5 teenagers, and 1 in 4 women in our society will encounter domestic violence at some time in their life. And the City of Phoenix has taken this issue very seriously. I'm here today in the Family Advocacy Center, a city facility, and I'm joined by the Family Advocacy Center Director, Libby Bissa, who's going to talk with us about domestic violence awareness. Libby, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
So tell us first of all about the Family Advocacy Center and how it fits in the whole realm of domestic violence awareness and prevention.
Well, the Family Advocacy Center was established in 1999 really to address specifically domestic and sexual violence. What we do here is provide individual direct services to victims of domestic and sexual violence as well as secondary victims of homicide. What we do is provide a kind of comprehensive and holistic view about how to treat or serve a victim of domestic violence.
And you talk about we, so it's a team effort here. You are with the Human Services Department, but there are other agencies and city departments that are part of this. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We partner not only with the Phoenix Police Department, but also with community agencies. We have on-site community providers that do things for the community that we could not. So they provide counseling, long-term case management, and we do more of the critical crisis intervention piece.
And this whole concept grew out of some concerns in the 90s about the lack of services, particularly for women, but for all people who are suffering with domestic violence. So talk a little bit about what additional services are brought to people here at this center that maybe didn't exist before.
The idea of the center really was to create a one-stop shop so that a victim could come into one location and receive a full realm of services. So a victim might receive a strangulation exam so that they can further the prosecution on a case, but they also might be meeting with a counselor and meeting with an advocate and doing safety planning and getting an order of protection. All of those things can be accomplished here in the center. Prior to the center's existence, they had to travel to all of those different points to receive those services.
So some people said that they were victimized twice, one in a crime and once in the amount of time they had to spend finding their way through the system. But you've really brought the system to the victim.
Absolutely. If we can enable a victim to participate in the system, then we can have more long-term impact on the issue.
Great. Now people are going to see a lot of purple in October. I'm wearing some. There are purple lights outside City Hall and all over town. Tell us a little bit about the significance of painting Phoenix purple in October.
Well, Paint Phoenix Purple is the city's awareness effort surrounding domestic violence. It's part of the DV Roadmap, which is a 5-year strategic plan to address domestic violence in our community and to really make it culturally inappropriate and unacceptable to have domestic violence. So the Paint Phoenix Purple effort really takes into account both high schools and city services, but also just a community in general. We're engaging with universities, we're engaging with business. And if we can really get the message out there about domestic violence, what it is, how to get help, then we can have an impact.
And it is a rather shocking statistic on the children's side that 1 in 5 teenagers will be victims of domestic violence. We often think of it as an adult crime. Talk a little bit about what's going on in terms of specifically working with younger people to prevent and be aware of domestic violence.
Well, the city has a contract with a community provider, and that provider is in the high schools this year, providing education on domestic and dating violence. It's really important if we can get to individuals earlier when they might start and have a domestic violence relationship as a teen, and that might carry forward in the rest of their life. So we really want to try and impact early and educate people on what that is. Parents may not even be aware that dating and violence exists or can be combated. And so if we can get the word out there, it's really important.
So you've been with the city, I know, almost 30 years, maybe more than 30 years. Tell us a little bit about your path in the city to come to this place in your career working in this important subject.
Actually, probably a unique path. I started with the fire department in the dispatch center and worked there for 16 years as a dispatch supervisor. So we dealt with a lot of crisis intervention and just crisis in general, a lot of emergencies, and served 16 communities at the time that I was there.
So that crisis intervention early in your career probably comes back to help you now, I would guess.
It does, and so it really was a good feeder to coming to the Family Advocacy Center and working with directly with victims, and then now in more of an oversight role.
And talk about your education. How did that play into your career?
Well, I received both my bachelor's and my master's during the time that I've been an employee with the city, and I did that through tuition reimbursement.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Really important, I think, that I didn't know that I needed an education really before I started with the city, and I determined that I had a future, that I really had a purpose. And so that was really the way that I was able to find my way through and to progress in my career.
Now, how long have you been here at the Family Advocacy Center?
I've been here 13 years.
And you didn't start as the director.
I didn't.
What did you do to work your way to that point?
I started as the operations manager when we were just a tiny little shop of 3 people, and just worked here the entire time. And I was blessed to have been promoted to the Family Advocacy Center director.
Now, one of the things we know about domestic violence is that information is one of the most powerful prevention tips. So tell us a little bit about where people can find information. It's not something you can just go ask anybody about, but where are some sources, some resources for people who maybe are struggling with it themselves or know someone who is?
Well, the city's website, phoenix.gov/FAC, provides a lot of information. You can call the Family Advocacy Center and we can assist you. We can hook you up with an advocate who can walk you through the process and determine what needs you might have and then try to address those. And also the National Domestic Violence Hotline and the National Domestic Violence website. You can receive a ton of information in those locations.
Great. Well, thank you for spending time with us today on this important subject and for sharing your story as a city employee, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Our mayor and city council have made ending domestic violence a top priority, and we're all committed to that effort at the city of Phoenix. If you or someone you know needs help with this domestic violence scourge, please go to the resources on your screen. For On the Job, I'm City Manager Ed Zuercher.